Welcome to ontopicretro, episode 14. I'm John Cummins, and joining me tonight is Dan Caporello, the man,
Who's that?
the banana man,
Banana Man.
who
Green
wishes
bananas.
he had the DK banana controller.
I'm never gonna get it unless it's like I'm not gonna go spend $300 on a controller. That's bananas.
I always look for it. I'm always digging through piles of N64 controllers when I find them.
I'm pretty sure all of those have been found. I don't think anybody's randomly sitting on one. Just my hope has died.
You never know.
Yeah.
You could always, I wonder if you could just turn the traditional yellow one into that controller,
Just
or is it a different color?
Get a sticker. I think it's the same yellow. You gotta do the like banana tips, and then you gotta put the logo at the top, and then you're done.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think somebody could make that.
Yeah.
Like decals, or I'll just find somebody that does really good airbrush work and we'll make one.
Yes. I wouldn't mind they also made the like felt sleeve, the like fabric sleeve for your controller.
Yeah.
It looks like bananas.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind one of those. Those are cheap-ish.
Yeah. Like the official ones are probably up there a little bit now.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, as we can probably gather, tonight we will be talking Donkey Kong Land, the Game Boy sequel. Like they call it a sequel, but I don't like.
They call it a sequel?
I guess I mean, technically it is a sequel.
Yeah, I guess chronologically it might be, but it's not like the second
even
one. They made the
even story wise, it's a sequel to the original Donkey Kong Country, and it came out before Donkey Kong Country 2. So
okay, so
take it for what it is.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, it ended up spawning like all of its own original sequels and stuff. So, but whenever it was being developed, it was going to be a sequel. And we'll get into more of that whenever we get down into the meat and potatoes of the episode. For now, though, we can share each other's experiences.
You mean the meat and bananas?
Yeah, the bananas and cremlings of the episode.
I don't. What?
I don't know if that works. The cremlings, man.
I don't know what that is. Is that a thing? What is that?
It's the bad guys of Donkey Kong.
Oh, Kremlins. Okay.
The Kremlins. Kremlins, whatever they are. However you pronounce it.
I thought you were saying like a pastry or something. I was like, what's a Kremling? I want one.
Sounds like a good one to me. Let's just try that.
Let's do it.
But no, when did you play this game? What kind of experiences do you have?
Okie dokie. So I played it way back in the olden days, back when I bought my Game Boy. It was this game, and it was Link's Awakening, and it was Super Off-Road or something like that. I think it was Super Off-Road.
Yeah.
Those were my 3 games when I got my Game Boy. For a while until Pokemon. And at some point Quicks got in there, but at whatever. So yeah, again, totally skipped over the Mario game for the console and went straight for Donkey Kong, which happened for my Super Nintendo. I mean, it was great. It was a pretty faithful representation of what you got on the Super Nintendo. The music was there. The animations were there. Obviously, it does not look nearly as good as it does. But for the Game Boy, you got to give it some cred. They did a pretty good job porting over the style. So that was when I was a kid. I slammed on that game quite a bit. Played it again recently for this episode. I didn't beat it. I think I got through the first world. And it's pretty rough. Like, I love Donkey Kong. There's no questioning that. But I don't like these games very much. Like, they're Well,
Yeah,
I can't speak for the second or third one, but this one had a real hard time with some parts that were just unnecessarily like
yeah.
just like enemies off screen you can't see. You just have to know they're there, and
I
it's
talked
they're
about it a
pretty
little bit in Discord.
yeah, they're pretty liberal with lives, so it seems like they kind of knew that, and they were like, you're gonna die. It's fine."
That's like all the
And
bonus areas are just a
yeah,
way to give you an extra life.
and the save system is all automatic, so that's nice.
Yeah,
But like, dang man, this game's really frustrating. Um, yeah. So love Donkey Kong, love the dude,
yeah,
love the music, love the worlds, looks amazing. Just the getting all that stuff to work on a little Game Boy screen just sort of messed with some of the platforming, I think.
yeah. I mean, this was a community voted retro rewind game, so that doesn't this isn't necessarily a game we chose because we love it. This is the one that the community chose for us to play so that we could
Mhm.
share about it. So yeah, this game does not come without its faults and flaws, but there's definitely some good things in it as well. It's you could on the makeup of the game, you could tell it's Donkey Kong. It's and it's definitely like it's a pretty true port to Donkey Kong Country. Like as far
Yeah,
as
it
the
is.
aesthetic, like they do a very good job.
Mhm.
In fact, I would go to say that it's one of the better looking Game Boy games.
Oh, definitely.
Um, as far as graphically, like what you're doing, but it doesn't come without the slowdown. Like that's the big problem when I was playing was that you know due to how graphically intense it is, Game Boy already struggles to process games that are nowhere near this graphically intense. I
Yeah.
had several points where like either my sprites would like halfway disappear
That's what I experienced.
or
Yeah.
timing was thrown off a little bit with jumps.
I'm not
But
sure I ever experienced the timing thing, but I definitely saw some sprite glitching out, and I
definitely
wondered if
later,
my cartridge was like wiggling
no,
out or something. You know how
it's
that can happen?
that's just
But
the game, man.
no, it's just the game, yeah. The backgrounds though, rock
Yeah,
solid. Yeah, and they look
yeah, no,
really good. Yeah.
I think by the time I hit like the second world, I was starting. There was enough things going on the screen that they were trying to accomplish that. There's a little bit of slowdown there.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, the game, like I said, it looks fantastic, sounds good.
Mhm.
Like the music, they've hit Donkey Kong pretty well there.
And you know what? I
Um,
will also say that in my experience, there's a lot of really rough Game Boy games. Like
oh yeah,
the I would say the majority of Game Boy games are pretty difficult to like get through just because of the nature of what the system is and their limitations. So on the whole, it's still pretty good and really playable, and they do give you some tools to deal with the fact that it's really difficult. Like I said, the liberal with the lives and the save system being easy to use and all that. So I guess I got to give it some props too, compared to other Game Boy games, but compared to Donkey Kong Country, it's just kind of middling at best.
and they definitely know it's a lot more slippery than Donkey Kong Country was. The
Yeah.
hitboxes on the enemies are
Oh
not near as
yeah.
big. Like you get a lot
Mm-hmm.
more wiggle room. There's plenty of times where I got right up on an enemy and I'm like, I don't know how I didn't get like that would have if this was Donkey Kong Country, I would have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So
And like sometimes I'll think that I hit an enemy on the head, but really I hit him on the side kind of when and it didn't register right and it just
yep,
doesn't. It's inconsistent.
yes. So I didn't actually play this when I was a kid. In fact, I did not play this game until like last year. Whenever I picked it up,
Mm.
um, I played just a small bit of it, and then went back whenever it got voted in and played the majority of it. I think I made it to the third world before I quit playing it, just due to lack of time, other things going on. But I mean, it's a quick game. It's definitely not one that you have to put a whole lot of time into. But it would definitely be
Yeah.
this one would benefit a lot from uh, being on like if they brought Game Boy to the NSO app where you could use rewind and stuff. Because there's, like you
Oh,
said,
for sure.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
like cheap kills that set you back.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the checkpoints are a lot further into the level than what they are in Donkey Kong Country. Like there's some checkpoints that
Yeah.
feel like I've already got 3 of the letters before I hit the checkpoint.
Yeah, I'll say that too. Like the checkpoint distance is pretty inconsistent as well. Just like, and I feel
Yeah,
like I've
sometimes it's
gotten,
really early.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. More often than not, I feel like I've gotten both checkpoints, and then you hit like a really long, annoying segment, and you're
Yep,
like, there should be a checkpoint halfway through here.
yep. So yeah, I mean it's Donkey Kong Country light, and it works, and it's just amazing that they got this out on the Game Boy. I think this is about halfway through the Game Boy life cycle, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, or close to it. And like I said, it doesn't get much better from here. Like this game is it looks pretty good. So all right, with experiences out of the way, we'll go ahead and get to the bananas of the conversation. We'll talk a little bit about the game itself.
Do it.
As far as game overview goes, this game was developed by Rare as a handheld sequel to Donkey Kong Country. It was released in North America on June 26th of 1995, in Japan on July 27th, 1995, in Europe in August 24th, 1995. So it's kind of like stair step down. We got it
Yeah,
first,
good on them.
and yeah. So and that was again in these times it was really unusual for the U.S. to get a game first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this game featured the iconic banana yellow cartridge.
Oh yeah.
Every one of them are, which at this time was pretty unique. I can't think of another game that had a different color cartridge at the time that this released for the Game Boy.
There, yeah.
Like,
Besides Pokemon,
well, those were like '98. So,
yeah. But honestly, there really wasn't.
so yeah, this was definitely a different. Like they were really pushing Donkey Kong and leaning into the craziness and advertisement that they had going on with it.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
Game Boy falling on Donkey Kong's head was like
yep.
such a classic Nintendo commercial moment. I love that. And his
Oh yeah.
eyes pop out.
They Donkey Kong had like some of the best advertisements in the '90s. Donkey Kong and Kirby had the
I
crazy ones.
There's also, this is totally off topic, but there's also the Pokemon commercial where there's the bus driver and he's like, "All right, come on in, everybody." And it's like, or it's a live action actor with a bus and then cartoon Pokemon. Come
Yep.
on in, and then he picks up a bunch of Pokemon on the bus and he drives into a trash compactor, and then he he like pulls the lever in the trash compactor and like he's laughing all maniacally, and then it becomes a Game Boy. He's like,
Yep.
"We fit Pokemon into the Game Boy," and it's like, "Oh, you just crushed a bunch of Pokemon to death. That's fun.
That's right.
Yay."
The Game Boy compactor. So yeah, this game also it shares a lot of the same character designs
Mm-hmm.
with DKC, even though the game's level design is quite different. Like it has similarities, but you could definitely tell that due to limitations of the Game Boy, they're doing things differently with this game.
Yeah, it
And
feels different to play. It like feels
it
similar
does.
enough, but you really have to take Donkey Kong Country out of your head while playing
It's
this and
it's
treat
almost a
it at,
trick. Like it
yeah.
looks like the same, but whenever you're
Hmm.
playing it, you're like, man, this just doesn't feel exactly the same. But
Like I
it's just to
like
be expected.
to try to put it into words. I feel like the characters have a lot more verticality to their jump and not as much range. Like they can jump a lot
Yes,
higher, but not as far. So,
and
and
it
a lot
seems
of those
inconsistent at
jumps,
times.
yeah, and a lot of those jumps are like down to the pixel.
Oh yeah,
Accurate, especially when you're jumping on the tires trying to get over to the platform. Some of
yep.
that's like real meticulous.
Yeah, and this game, as I mentioned earlier, this was being developed at not side by side, but because this game didn't take near as long to develop, but like towards the end of development for Donkey Kong Country, this game was already in development, like while they were still
Yeah.
working on it. So
Mm-hmm.
it was it was definitely designed to be a sequel, like I said, and with that in mind, I don't know if they knew how big of a hit Donkey Kong Country would be, but I think they were banking on it pretty hard if they were already developing
Yeah.
a
Oh, for sure.
another game alongside. So
Yeah.
I think they knew somewhat what they had,
Mm-hmm.
but and it just it goes to it says a lot. A lot of times the Game Boy ports were not developed, or not. This isn't even a port, but totally different game. But a lot of times the Game Boy counterpart to a NES or Super NES game is not even developed by the same studio that worked on the
Mm.
other game.
Right.
To Rare's credit, they did develop this game, so I think that's why we get a very similar experience. Um, design wise and feel wise, music, all that stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
hits on the same beats as the Super Nintendo counterpart. So you don't really see that. Not all
Yeah.
Game Boy games are anywhere near their console counterparts.
No, yeah. And yeah,
Plenty
like
of times you go to buy one as a kid and you're like, what is this?
yeah, for
Which is
sure.
why everyone should have been subscribed to Nintendo Power, and you would have known these things.
A lot of people were.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many kids like see the Game Boy one and they're like, Grandma, I want that one, and then you get it and you're like, this is in Mickey Mouse.
Who
Doesn't
is
play
this?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
this must be Mortimer. But yes, so that's pretty much all the stuff I could dig up on the development side of it. There's probably more out there. I didn't do a whole lot of digging. I just
Yeah.
thought it was interesting that it was being developed, not quite alongside, but at the same time as Donkey Kong Country, and before
Mm-hmm.
it was really a big hit. So,
Yeah.
and with the main overview out of the way, we'll go ahead and hop into the story. And this was what was kind of interesting. Um, just reading. I don't know if you read the instruction booklet or had it
No,
as a
I
kid.
probably did. I don't remember it though.
So in the instruction booklet, um, this is like some like fourth wall breaking stuff where
What?
yes. So it takes place directly after the events of Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, and Cranky Kong are shown reflecting on the previous adventure. And out of jealousy, Cranky Kong scolds Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong about the success of Donkey Kong Country, implying that it only did so well because of the elaborate graphics and sound on the Super NES.
Oh my gosh.
So, irritated, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong explain they earned their success because of the fun gameplay and not just the graphics and the sound. So, mischievously, Cranky taunts the Kongs that they could not replicate the success of their past game on a monochrome handheld, causing Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong to accept this challenge.
Why is it
And then
so
Crank,
meta? Why is it like
I don't know.
this is
This
like
is
an
very
internal
unusual.
conversation that happened at Rare. This is not
Yeah, between the two teams that were developing the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Cranky explains that by the following day he will have called King K. Rool and the Kremlings to steal Donkey Kong's bananas and scatter them across Donkey Kong Island. Determined to prove Cranky Kong wrong, Donkey and Diddy head out to defeat K. Rool and the Kremlings. The duo eventually reach the Big Ape City, where they ultimately defeat K. Rool in his penthouse.
I was gonna
So,
say
yes.
I got to a bonus level that was in a city, and I was like, "That's not a thing. Why are we in a city?" But now that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, they added a city to it. But yeah, that story is so weird and not very Nintendo.
No, it's not. It's very meta and just like
It is.
self-aware and weird.
But yes, it's whenever I just recently got a complete in-box copy of this game,
Mm-hmm.
and I hadn't flipped through the manual, and I didn't even know there was a story.
Oh
I
yeah,
just figured
yeah. Nobody plays Donkey Kong Country for the story.
exactly, yeah. So whenever I found this, I was like, "Wait a minute, this can't be
Yeah, right.
legitimate. Let's go find out." And yeah, it's
Exactly.
in there. That's crazy.
Well, there it is,
Uh,
guys. There's the story for Donkey
there's
Kong
the
Land. In case you were
breaking
like
news.
just burning to know what Donkey Kong's
Uh,
motivation was.
I'll have to read the manuals for the other two games in the series and see what they say.
So, do you like play in a city? Is that a whole world?
Yeah, World
All
Four is
right.
a city.
Okay. I might have to
So
try to get there then
now you
because
got to pick it back up and finish it.
yeah.
Save the speed.
Fine.
Uh,
I'm obligated
so
to as a Donkey Kong fan.
that's right.
I'd
You have to
rather
beat
play
them all.
Donkey Kong 64.
Ugh.
That's how much I don't like these games.
Man, I we'll have to inevitably do a show on that game, but I might have to let you be the
That's a
host for that one.
long game. Like, good luck. That's
Oh
got to be
man.
like a year-long thing where it's like, okay, here's a we do like super on topic retro where it's like, all right, we have a year to get through this long ass game, and then in December we'll do a big episode about
Oh,
it.
I didn't say anything about replaying it. We'll just do an episode episode on it based on the experiences that we already have.
John, no, you gotta. I want to see you stream it. I want to get reactions.
Uh, somewhere I have my original copy of Donkey Kong 64 and my save file. I don't know if I ever 100% completed it, but I did most of it. And the most enjoyable thing about Donkey Kong 64 is the fact that you can play Jetpack in there in the arcade.
Oh my gosh. Whatever.
Uh, well, anyway, we'll get to that show eventually, I'm sure. But
Yeah, for sure.
now we can talk some gameplay. So, Donkey Kong Land is a 2D side scrolling platformer. Very similar to Donkey Kong Country, control wise. This game has like a weird deal where only one Kong can be on the screen at once. Dude, it's like,
Yeah.
in Donkey Kong Country, if you're Donkey Kong, Diddy follows you around, or vice versa. Or in this game, they just kind of like teleport off whenever you get them out of the barrel, and they don't
I'm
follow you
gonna
on the screen.
I'm gonna verify. I think the Game Boy Advance port of Donkey Kong Country does the same thing. But the weird thing about Donkey Kong Land is that there's no indicator on the screen whether or
If
not
you
you
have one,
have, yeah, you don't know. You just have to remember. And then even so, sometimes when you die, it doesn't generate the other person. It's like depends on how you die. Like if I hit
yes.
a bee over a platform, then it won't generate the
Or sometimes it'll generate you to your death. I've had that happen before too.
oh man.
Where I
Yeah.
died in a spot where it was like close to the edge of the cliff, and then it just put me off the cliff whenever I came back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not cool. Not cool,
I,
guys. Come on.
I did notice that too. Like sometimes whenever you grab the barrel, like it makes a little explosion, like smoke, whenever you
Yeah.
blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes whenever you break the barrel and you don't have the character already, sometimes he hops out of the barrel and it shows him like float up. Sometimes it doesn't. So like I don't know if there's like fake DK barrels and you just think you got one.
That's
Um,
weird.
But
Well,
yeah,
I think
see,
no, I think it does that when you already have the character.
well, yeah, but I thought I already had one too, and then I died and it didn't show up. So,
Okay, so I have confirmed that in Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Advance, it's the same as the Super Nintendo where you have both characters on screen.
oh yeah, but
But the weird thing is I have the memory in my head of there being some indicator that now maybe in Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong Land 2 they added
they,
that.
they probably added it. Yeah,
So now I'm wondering if I had Donkey Kong Land 2 as a kid and not 1.
it's very
Now
possible.
I'm wondering that. And also, by the way, Donkey Kong Country in the Game Boy Advance is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a good port.
Good port. Good job,
But yeah,
guys.
so yeah, one con can be on the screen, and this is totally due to the limitations of the Game Boy. It just cannot handle having two sprites on the screen and
Oh
enemies.
yeah, yeah. And it's not really
And
necessary. It was more of a cool thing to see.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it can barely handle having two enemies on a screen.
I know. Yeah,
Like,
for real.
uh, but yes, there are four worlds in Donkey Kong Land, each containing 7 levels, excluding the first world, which has 9 levels. Which the first world feels very long when you're when you're playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this it feels like this world is never ending. Like I don't remember.
That's why I stopped.
Yeah, but then by the time you get in the second world, you start cruising, and like each world has 7 levels instead, and it's really not that long of a game. You can knock it out fairly quickly. Um, Another thing too, like there's a lot of shared enemies from Donkey Kong Country that return, but there's also
Yeah,
some original ones.
flying pigs.
Yes,
Yeah, we got
hogwash.
flying pigs. We got the spinny snakes on the ropes that I hate.
Yep.
What
There's
else we
a
got?
enemy called Nemo, which I'm assuming is a fish.
I bet not.
Uh, Fangfish and Hard Hat, which is the boss. And I think there's also some smaller versions of Hard Hat because usually the bosses are kind of like a bigger version of the mini enemies of sorts in Donkey
Let's see.
Kong.
Let's see what Nemo is. Nemo is a what's that animal? It's a squid with a shell.
A
Nautilus.
squid. Um, oh,
It's a nautilus.
okay.
Ooh, he's.
Uh,
I didn't get to an underwater level. He looks nasty.
is he the one that like spins or like he moves up and down or?
I don't know because this is not a video. This is
Okay.
this is a photo of him.
This is the problem with Donkey Kong enemies. You don't know the names until you beat the game because it tells you them in the credits.
Yeah, or
And
does it tell you in
sometimes
the
it tells you
manual?
wrong.
I know, right? Does it tell you in the manual?
I'll have to go back and look. I just checked the
All
story
right.
out in the manual. We could look up a scan of it later, but you
Yeah.
know they. I'm sure that at the end of the game they give you like a list of all the enemies. Um, the worlds are the Gangplank Galleon, Crimlantis, Monkey Mountains, and Chimpanzee Clouds. That's one level or one word world. Sorry, can't talk.
Okay, so the manual does tell you the new baddies,
But
but
not
it
the
does
old ones.
not tell you the old ones. It only tells you about the pig and the nautilus and the couple fish and a mole.
Yep, the mole's hard hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It only tells you those. It doesn't go through all of them. But the manual looks real nice.
Yes. And then the last world is the Big Ape City. As we were talking about, this game actually has a city for a world, which is unique to Donkey Kong.
Now, my
Um,
question is, why didn't they go to Big Ape City in Super Mario Odyssey? They like made up a new city when there already
yeah,
was.
New Donk when they could have just went to Big Ape, and it's very
Yeah.
like it has very close similarities. Like
Well, presumably they're riffing off of Big Apple, right?
yeah,
It's like the same city, just
yep,
or maybe you know what? Maybe Big Ape City is like the name, like a nickname for it, but it's really called New Donk City,
could be.
kind of like New York City. I bet that's what it is. It's the
Yep,
same.
being the Big Apple.
Same city. Pauline lives there.
That's right. And then the bosses of those worlds are Wild Sting, which is a stingray that floats through the air. It's kind of a
Ooh.
weird. Yeah, he like flies because when you're fighting him, you're not underwater. You're like
Hmm.
jumping.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and you kind of like jump on his head to defeat him. But and then the second, Crimlantis's boss is a giant clam whose name is Giant Clam. Very very creative, and he is an underwater boss, um, and kind of annoying. The third world Monkey Mountains and Chimpanzee Clouds boss is named Hard Hat. He's one of the new enemies. He is a mole who has a hard hat on, and you can't damage him until he throws his hat at you, which is kind of
Oh,
a
very
fun
interesting.
gameplay mechanic. Yeah,
Yeah.
he kind of like pops up, and then like he'll go underneath and come up in different places, and then like he'll look left or right to find you, and then whatever direction you are, he'll throw the hat, and then you have to like dodge the hat and go jump on his head while the hat's off of his head.
Ah, old
It's a
King K.
pretty
Rool boss battle style.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very similar. Yeah. Um, and then of course the last boss is King K. Rool, and you fight him in Big Ape City.
Good deal.
I mean, how many times can this guy get beat and just keep coming back?
I don't know, man. How many times Bowser get beaten? He's just like, oh, Mario, I stole your princess again. Please don't come get her, even though you did 14 times already. Like, get a
She'll write you
new
a letter this time. She doesn't want to go.
get a new motivation. Let's get Mario RPG back. We all joined forces. That was fun.
Agreed. But yeah, so that's. I mean, we kind of already talked about some of the gameplay differences between this and Donkey Kong Country, where it gets its inspiration from. Really, the like you said, the jumps are like a really big difference. They definitely have a different feel. Um, I don't feel like you can get going as quickly in this game
Hmm.
because you can't see as far due
Yeah,
to
it's
the
really
aspect
it's
ratio.
really slow as you go on those. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you're playing uh, on the console, on Donkey Kong Country, you could see quite a bit more than you can on the Game Boy. You don't get a whole lot.
Yeah, big time. You could see even more on the Game Boy Advance. They widescreened that mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 16:9.
Really, really what we're saying is just go play the Game Boy Advance version of Donkey Kong Country. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, you could do that too. Uh,
You know
but
what
yes,
though? You know what I would love is for them to remake these. Same level design, right? Just do the Donkey Kong Country thing with these levels. That I would play
yeah,
all day. Let's do it.
yeah. I think it would be really cool. Like I know a lot of people, excuse me, were talking like they didn't know if they think that they would like do a remake of these games. I think it would be kind of cool if they did do a remake or such, but just put all three of them together because they're not very big
Oh, for
games.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and then just do all three of them as one game and just say bam bam bam, it's all one game now.
Yeah.
And then they could just each game could just be an act, of one larger story. And I think that would be kind of cool because playing this game like because the level design's different, it has a different look to it in some places. Um, you could definitely get away with doing this with newer. Like, could you imagine playing this game with the graphics of like Tropical Freeze?
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Let's do a complete Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Land 6-game series, all done in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze style. I
yeah, I mean,
would
really,
lose my mind.
you
I
could do
would
the
go
same thing with
bananas.
Donkey Kong Country because those games are not super long either.
Yes.
You
Yes.
could just do a collection where it has Donkey Kong Land, Donkey Kong Country, all six games as two separate entries, and then just make them acts of the same story, and
I
it
mean, you
and it would
could
be amazing.
because of how they run chronologically in the story, you could do Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Land, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Land 2.
Yep.
Since you're redoing them all anyway, you might as well just throw those together. Now we're
Good.
talking. Now
Yeah.
we're selling it to Nintendo.
That's what we need. So I tried to look up some fun facts on this one. The only thing, this isn't really even that fun of a fact, but it was definitely worth mentioning. But when you play this game on the Super Game Boy, the visuals are expanded with different color palettes, and the game is surrounded by a jungle-themed border. Which I
Okay,
believe
cool.
if you have a Game Boy operator, you can get the same look as well.
Ooh, I might be
think.
testing that out tonight.
Yeah, see if that works.
Yep.
I know it works that way on other games, so I'm assuming this one is
Yeah, why not?
similar. But yeah, no, I played it on just my Game Boy Advance with the backlit screen, and you get that
Yeah, me
nice
too.
like black and white crisp look.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely want to check out that jungle themed border. I might have to break my Super Game Boy out, play my
Man.
original cartridge. But yeah, that's pretty much Donkey Kong Land in a nutshell. There's not a whole lot to talk deeply about with this game. I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot about the music. I don't know if you
It's
had
it's
any feeling for the music.
exactly what you would imagine 8-bit Donkey Kong Country music would sound like. It's the same songs, but they're like boop 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 instead of like well orchestrated.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's definitely worth a listen to.
yeah.
Maybe not one you put on repeat or anything anytime soon, but it's definitely worth listening to at least once if you haven't played the game.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right, man. Do you have anything else you would like to share, or you think of anything we missed?
No, dude. It's pretty simple. A lot of these Game Boy games are like that. It's just like, oh, it's a bite-sized version of the bigger project, and this is no different. With some caveats. I would say it's still worth playing despite its difficulty because, like I said, you have that caveat of lives being plentiful, and the save system being very easy, like automatic, basically, it saves for you.
Yeah.
So you're never like too far from where you died.
Unless your battery's dead.
Unless you're well, there's that. So hopefully,
happened.
and it's still available on the 3DS. You can go grab it on the 3DS. You'll have it for forever.
That's another thing too. I wonder if the 3DS has the Super Game Boy color palette.
Probably, I would doubt that. There's no reason why they would bother with that. I don't think so.
I was trying to think back because I played Donkey Kong 94 on the 3DS, and I thought it had color, but I'm not sure.
Well, when I play on my Game Boy Advance, it gives me the Game Boy Color like palette, which is the characters are different color in the background. I don't know. We'll have to try all that out, but it's super worth it on the 3DS, like the $5 or whatever it costs.
It's like $4, I think.
Really? Yeah, and the cartridge $20 all day.
You could find it for like $15.
Really? Yep. Yeah.
Or you could join our Discord and get a chance to win a copy here shortly.
Yeah, you could do that. But yeah,
I think
if you are a Donkey Kong Country fanboy, or even if you just like the character, it's definitely worth playing and giving a try for sure. It's not bad by any means. It's just I got real frustrated with it, but yeah, my attention span isn't what it used to be.
Same here.
That's it.
I had a very, very similar experience. So, all right. Well, that's it. Let's move to the outro.
Do I get to
talk
do I
about
get to
it.
plug?
You
I get to
can. You can
plug
talk.
my little podcast.
You can plug our other show.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm on another show called Retrologic where we do gaming trivia, we do topical discussions, and it's me and John and Sam. And if you're listening to this, you don't know what that is. That's amazing. You're a rare person. But yeah, you go check it out. That's the mothership, if it were, as it were. So definitely check that out.
Awesome.
Retrologic.games is the website. You can get all the info about everything there.
Yes, and I'll break that down because I talk about that at the end of every show. So
Yeah, for sure.
I just thought I'd
Yeesh.
let you give your sense.
There it is.
All right, and as always, we'll go ahead and announce the next game, which is funny because I already announced this game on the last episode, but due to scheduling issues, it now is episode 15, so we moved it out. But it will be Fantasy Star, and this time I promise we will get it out.
Nice.
Yes. And that's it. Thanks for listening to On Topic Retro, part of the RetroLogic family of podcasts, which is also a part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. It's like a family inside of a family. So like a second cousin or some weird thing like that. But
Yeah, it's weird.
yes, if you'd like to send your personal experiences for the next show but don't have Discord, you can send them to ontopicretro@gmail.com. If you haven't joined our wonderful non-toxic Discord and would like to, you can visit retrologic.games for details on how to join. It's free. We don't charge a dime. You can just come hang out with some of the coolest people on the internet.
It's my favorite thing about anything that we do, honestly.
Yeah. The
I wake up
Discord
every
is
morning and I just
it.
check all the weirdness that happened the last night, and it's the best.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I don't want to shame any other Discord communities, but we probably have one of the better ones that exists.
Oh yeah, I'm part of a lot of Discord communities, and for sure it's my favorite. I'm a little biased, obviously, but I think it's the best.
But yes, and that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you guys later. Bye now.
Laters. Do 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 do.